Wondering how your mindset affects your life? How to bring more energy into your business and life? Millions of people around the world ask these same questions daily. You are in the right place. Learn practices that will help give your life the meaning and success you've been searching for. Welcome to the Charge Podcast, teaching you how to create habits around real goals every day. Practical life advice from those who made it. Here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
Welcome to the month of February, the shortest month of the year, but for some of you, it may seem like the longest month of the year. Remember the goals you set for yourself at the beginning of the year? Are you still committed to achieving them like you were on January 1st? Well, let's recommit. If you fell off your exercise routine, or maybe saying eating healthier, or working on a passion project, remember, goals are like having your headlights on because you have to take action to accomplish them. We are sharing in the month of February some great guests on the Charge Podcast. Our guests this month share their expertise on how to implement habits to achieve your goals, learn how to network to make lasting relationships, strategies to create your perfect career, and why character is so important to living your best life. If you are feeling frustrated and stressed out with your professional and personal life, I know in each of these podcasts, the strategies that each guest shares can propel you to live a charged life in 2021. Chargers are committed to finding how each day they can make their life better by the willingness to learn, grow, and become the person they were meant to be. In my recently published book, Cultivate Positive Culture, 10 Actions to Faithful Living, I shared this quote: "Life is not about living in mediocrity. Life is about living into our future self." You made a great choice in listening to this podcast. Remember, the podcast is named Charge after my mantra: create habits around real goals every day. Let's get recharged in this podcast to influence a positive culture so you can take simple positive actions each day. Are you ready? Welcome, Chargers. We're glad to have you back again this week for another great podcast. Can you believe we are early in 2021? Are you achieving your goals? Are you really reaching what you want to do? Well, today's guest is going to help us in that. And that's why I'm so excited to have Dr. Evi Prokopi as a multicultural expert, having lived in 6 countries and worked with people from 58 countries. She has tremendous experience in recruiting, training, coaching, mentoring, and leading and managing project management teams for Fortune 100 companies and startups. Evi is the founder and president of Cosmoleadership. The Global Leadership Association is the first and youngest Greek female to ever speak at a Global Project Management Institute Congress. And she is one of the world's top 100 HR influencers of 2020. As a certified work performance assessor, a success coach, and the author of the Success Playbook, she wants to empower people and help them achieve their personal and professional goals. Dr. Evi, it is great to have you on the Charge Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here with you today. And I hope we can have a very, very meaningful conversation, because I wish everyone reaches success and happiness this new year.
Yes, and it's so great because you're from Greece and you're in Greece right now, and we're doing this via video so we can see each other. But what the difference the world has changed. And it's not just from last year and the pandemic that's still going on, but it's also just the technology that allows us this. And I'm just so glad you said yes to be on the Charge Podcast, because we're going to talk some about your book. But before we get there, I want to really ask you this question. It's my mantra, Charge, and that's the podcast name. Create habits around real goals every day. I ask every guest, what habit or habits do you think that's led to success in your life?
Well, it's a combination. It's the sum of many forces, as a matter of fact. It requires hard work, persistence, patience. And I think one of the most important things is to embrace failure, because we all fail. We have all failed. It's possible that we will fail again. But the important thing is that we learn from our failures and from our mistakes so we don't repeat them in the future.
Yeah, and I think the key is you really speak about a lot on success and project management. And I shared a little bit of your bio. Can you give a little bit of your journey of getting to where you're at today?
Yes, of course. Well, I have studied a lot of different things. I started with a degree in applied linguistics. Um, I worked as a translator and a translation agency owner. And then I moved to project management, where I also studied for a project management diploma. And I worked for an Australian educational institution, assessing and supervising students studying for their own diploma of project management. I led and managed many teams around the world, mainly virtual teams for both startups and Fortune 100 companies. I did a lot of recruitment, a lot of training. I've worked in many different countries in Europe and North America. I also lived in various countries because I studied in Greece, I studied in Finland, in the UK, and I lived in the US and Canada, in Germany. So I've had a long journey around the world, and I love traveling. It was a pity that due to COVID, things have been very strict and traveling is not as easy or as enjoyable as it used to be. On the bright side, as you said, technology has advanced and we can still talk and keep some relationships around the world. I have more friends abroad than in Greece, actually, because I lived for about 15 years abroad.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And kind of one thing that came out of that, I didn't plan on asking this, but you said you led some virtual teams. And because there's more and more people that are having to work virtual, do you think was the greatest challenge in that?
I think there are two challenges. One of them is to keep your people engaged, and which basically leads to the basis, and it is how we can build trust when we don't see the other person, and how can we create a fruitful collaboration when we are all spread around the world. And the second challenge is about syncing people from different time zones and identifying the right people for your team who are able to communicate across cultures and across time zones. For example, you and I were in completely different time zones, and it's nice that we managed to sync, but I know that it requires both parties to be willing to find a common time. And nowadays we have to learn to create collaborations and to build trust based on invisible elements like the sense of humor, or if we're both interested in lifelong learning, or if we'd like to learn something together or do something together, maybe sing and watch a TV show at the same time, even if you're in the States and I'm in Greece. So things like that can actually bond people, even though there is a long distance between them.
Yeah, I never thought about the time zones. And then when we got on, it's, 8 a.m. my time, 4 p.m. your time. And when you're thinking about business, it's how do you make that work? Because especially if you have not just two people, but what if there's a group of people that you're now communicating with? So appreciate you sharing that. And then the trust, I could see how that becomes so important to each person. Let's talk a little bit about your book. You recently wrote the Success Playbook, and I love your subtitle, The 8 Habits, because I love habits and I talk about that a lot. The 8 Habits of Happy and Successful People. And I guess let's first really dig into why did you write the book? And then I'll have a follow-up question of what is someone really going to get out of the book when they read it? But what was your reason for writing the book?
So my book is based on my doctoral research, and that's why it's also based on science, because I did a research and I had hundreds of people answering a questionnaire I created. And it's also based on philosophy, on physics, on biology. So I'm not sure that there is any other similar book based on science. There are many motivational books, but I'm not sure if there are other books based on science. So it started with my doctoral research, and I thought that the results were very interesting to keep them just for myself. And I know that I've tried so hard in my life because I started from zero and I have achieved a lot of things on my own. And that's also why I want to help people, especially younger people, because I didn't receive much help when I was younger. And I know how hard it is, especially now with COVID. And there are many, many people unemployed or on furlough. And I know that people need encouragement and they need support. And I think that this book can help people with all that. And I've seen people trying to achieve goals without success. And I think one of the reasons is because they don't have everything clear in their head. And I think that the book can help people clarify everything in their heads, put things in little boxes and identify their motivations, set goals properly, and then achieve these goals.
I really enjoyed the part of having the research because most books don't talk about that. We talk about success, we talk about how to be happy, but we really don't give the research behind it that shows there. And I know with your doctor thesis, that probably became something that became very prevalent. It probably kind of brought you back to when you started, some of the things that we automatically have, and we don't really know why. Is there any piece of the research that, just maybe surprised you or, was like, oh, wow, when you found that out that, okay, that's the reason why?
There are a few, actually. One of the things that I was impressed was that many people believed that they have been successful partly due to luck. They were lucky and they were successful. So I think that luck can also play a role. But what really was surprising was that most people didn't consider being healthy as a success. Mm-hmm. And according to Maslow and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the need to be healthy is one of the most basic needs. And it was really surprising that not many people realized that being healthy is actually a huge success, especially nowadays that, with COVID and everything, it's even more significant to be healthy and be able to live and lead a meaningful life.
Yeah, that's go ahead.
And one more thing that was very impressive was that I've seen many people saying that even though they were successful or they have been successful, they didn't necessarily make them happy. So success doesn't always lead to happiness, or actually it can lead to momentarily happiness, just for a few moments, just for a day, and then they're not happy. And I think this is very important because the most important thing is that when we chase happiness, we need to identify what makes us happiness, not everyone else. Because what makes me happy may not make you happy or anyone else.
Yeah, I think that was really interesting. I was looking at that is where you talk about achieving happiness and knowing yourself. Because the challenge is for a lot of achievers, they, I don't know about you, but when I wrote my first book, once I put it out there, I achieved that happiness, was excited about it, I got the book done, but then my thought automatically went to, what am I writing next? And I've realized that I didn't really take the time to enjoy that. Now, I will tell you, I just launched my fourth book at the end of last year myself also. And one of the things I did this time is I'm trying to really enjoy that moment. And right now, I know there's another book in me. I don't know what it is at this point. I've got some things tickling, but I've decided I'm going to just enjoy this moment of being able to put that out. So how for you, when you finished the book and now published it, what did it do for you?
It was a huge sense of accomplishment in my case. And to be honest, I didn't expect to have success because I didn't really promote it in any with any advertisement. But it became a bestseller in the new releases on Amazon, and I was thrilled about that. So yes, I was stunned. I couldn't believe that it was so successful. And what made me feel was, yes, this huge sense of accomplishment. I made it. I'm proud of myself. And it's not happiness, but it's pride. And it's the sense that you did something, you've put your soul in it, and you managed to get it done. And you hope that it will help people. And reading reviews and receiving comments about the book has been very, very pleasant, because I've seen that actually it helps people, and it's very nice because that was my intention, to help people, and I'm very happy that I managed to do it.
Well, you did a great job, and we'll kind of go to a different topic here, but I want people to realize, check out the book. This, I think you'll really enjoy it. The Success Playbook, the eight habits of happy and successful people. The thing is, she gives you the research, and then she goes into those 8 habits and how that applies with the research and how it applies to you, I think is the key. And I think that's why you connect it, Evi, is you didn't say, this is about me. It's about how it applies to us. And with your research backup, it's a great read. So I thank you for that. And it was a wonderful read. And there's some other things I want to kind of put in there, because I think it comes out in the book, but it comes out in different ways. Like, you do some coaching, and there's a lot of coaches out there, but you've kind of went in a different path and decided to really kind of chart a different course. What makes you different from other coaches that are out there, do you feel?
I think that coaching is not a regulated job profession, at least in Greece, and I think in most countries. So I've seen many people saying that I'm a coach, but they don't really have any credentials. They don't have really any qualifications. They might have a bad experience, and then they said, okay, I made it out alive, so I will become a coach because I know how to survive. So I think that my work experience around the world, my achievements, especially because I didn't have any support in my beginning, give me a lot of strong points. And also that I'm not trying to internalize coaching sessions. Usually I've seen many professionals trying to internalize these relationships, like booking customers for years and trying to get a relationship that lasts in time so they can get income. I don't do that. I don't offer plans that last longer than 6 months, because I believe that if someone wants to change and they are a healthy person, then they can change and they can achieve change within 6 months tops. And otherwise, I don't do something well, or they don't really want to change. And also, I think I'm the first one to adapt and adopt and certainly publish business and tools in the coaching practice, as far as I know. For example, in the book, I have published a few tools that are used in business, like the SWOT analysis I have, and the WBS tool. So I think these all make a huge difference.
Yeah, I really do. I think it's great when people give tools, because people need that reinforcement that's there. What would you tell someone, because there's still people out there that they've thought about coaching or getting a coach, but they've not decided to make the investment, that maybe in 2021 they've made that? Because what I've seen in my own business is actually my coaching practices went up with the pandemic. That's been going on, because people are realizing that they need some help to be able to move forward in their life. What would you tell someone that's still on that fence about coaching, what they should look for and what they should go after to find the right coach for them?
Well, I think these are two questions, actually. One of them is, how can they decide whether they need a coach? And then which coach is the best for them, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
So I think that if someone is not sure about getting coaching help, then they're not sure whether they really want to change. And they first need to decide that they want some help. They first need to decide and understand and accept that they need some guidance, as we all need. We have all needed it at some point of our lives. Maybe we'll need it again. And once they accept and realize that we're all humans and it's absolutely natural to need some help, then the second part is to find the right coach for you. And this depends on what kind of help you need. Do you need help with something, with some soft skills, or with some career advice or leadership advice, life coaching? And look for some coaches and see what they've done already, what reviews they have, what is their approach. And maybe even if you prefer to talk to a male or female or other non-binary gender coach. And when you identify those coaches that their approach makes sense to you, approach them and talk to them for a few minutes or exchange some messages and see if there is chemistry. I think the chemistry is the most important thing once you identify the coach that you want to work with, because the coach may be great, but there may be no chemistry. So this means that they will not actually help you as much as someone else could help you.
Yeah. I think great advice there that you gave is, number one, you've got to decide, are you wanting to change? Because that's the reason to get a coach. Don't invest the money if you're stuck and you're not willing to make those changes, because we can't change anything unless we change our habits to be able to make those happen each and every day. And then
exactly. And the coach will not change you. You will change yourself.
Mm-hmm. The coach just helps in the process. It brings it to light, makes you more self-aware, allows you. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's great. And then I think the other thing I would throw out there is just remember, interview them. Or they may have a discovery session that they allow you to do. You don't have to go with the first person. Decide, if there's two
absolutely.
or three in your area, same way if you're interviewing for a position, they're not looking at just one individual. You have that capability to check others out and see the different styles that's out there, because you may find out exactly what you think. Where is the chemistry and who's got the most chemistry? Thank you for sharing that. I just think it helps, because I think some people in our audience, I don't know who it is, but one of our chargers right now is thinking about that, maybe multiple, because it's early in 2021. And this helps them kind of really, how do I move forward in that? Because, in some areas, coaching is very prevalent, but in other areas, in other countries, it's not. And we've got, neat thing is, Dr. Evi, I didn't even tell you this before, we've had over 60 countries of people that's listening to the podcast. And we've got all 50 states now that have listened to the Charge podcast. So it keeps growing. So I want to really offer different viewpoints from different areas. And that's why it's so exciting to have you on. Now, it's kind of interesting in your line of work and with what you do, you've kind of really decided not to use all the social media. Instead, you've decided to really concentrate on LinkedIn, and that is your social media platform. Share with us, why have you done that?
That's right. The reason is that there are two reasons, actually, that I don't really understand the point in using other social media, because LinkedIn is meant to be for professional reasons. Mm. I always had in mind, maybe because I'm older, I don't know, that the other social media are more for friends and family. And the other reason is that I boycott a very, very huge social media because of privacy and ethical issues. And I had a very, very unpleasant experience a few years ago, and they didn't protect privacy at all. So I was like, okay, I will just work on LinkedIn for clearly professional reasons.
Yeah. And that's, I think, something people should think about, because, social media, the last that I saw, it was in 2019, is that person spends 2 hours and 22 minutes a day on social media. Wow. Now, think what that does to your happiness, to you achieving your goals. When people tell me that I don't have time for this, and they're doing an average of an average person is using 2 hours, 22 minutes. So that means a lot of people are using more than that. How does that challenge our life?
Exactly. I was recently reading a research, and people who use up to 2 social media have 3 times less the risk of anxiety and depression than those who use more than 2 social media. It was insane because we get exposed to things or lives that are not necessarily real. Everyone can say anything they want. Everyone can present any way they want. And if we keep looking at beautiful pictures, people traveling, living the life and being so happy, we get anxious, we get nervous. Okay, when am I going to be happy? When am I going to be rich? And whatever. Yeah, it can really affect us in a very negative way.
Yeah, I think that's one of the areas that if you really wanted to make a change for yourself, and I'm trying to do it myself too, I put some things out for the business side of it, but I'm trying to really limit my intake of social media. And, you know, number one is because it's just the time, because you know, when you get into social media and you start scrolling, and most of us have seen the documentary, or if you haven't, you need to check it out. Social Dilemma, because it shows you, you know, everything they're doing is to get you to spend more time on it, because it's a mechanism. It's a business tool. I mean, there's a reason when you check something out on it, you get more of that the next time, and you get more of what you want, and it changes for each person. And we have to realize that they're trying to change our brain. Instead, what we're talking about and what your book talks about, the Success Playbook, is about, we want you to change your mind. You make the decision. You be the person in charge of that to move forward each and every day.
Absolutely. That's right.
You talk a lot about, and in your bio, I mentioned Cosmoleadership. And I'm kind of curious for you to tell us a few things about that and what you're doing in that area of Cosmoleadership.
Mm-hmm. Cosmoleadership is a very young initiative. It's also known as the Global Leadership Association. And it's a team of talented leaders spread around the world. And we try to be the first body promoting management and leadership best practices. So ultimately, we want to promote do's and don'ts, fair and creative practices, and educate future leaders all over the world. We are a non-profit organization, and our vision is to create safe workplaces free of any form of bullying, where everyone can express freely and excel at what they choose to do. So hopefully we will change all these broken practices around the world over the following years. That's what we hope to achieve in the next years.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like a great organization. Now, before we go to the recharge round, hard to believe it's already coming up to that time. But before we go there, besides, I'll say this so you don't have to, is they should go out and buy your book. But let's use it again, going back to the charger, the person that's sitting there and saying, okay, what do I do to get started? What would you tell someone there if they feel right now, maybe they don't feel like their habits and they're not happy with where they're at in their success, in their career? What would you tell them?
I would tell them to take the time they need to, first of all, write down what doesn't make them happy. So when you identify the root of your problem, you can then create an action plan. And you can set your goal, a SMART goal. SMART is an acronym actually standing for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And when you set these SMART goals for you in order to achieve your success and your happiness, and you can break them down in sub-goals, in little goals, which are more easily to manage. And then you start following these little goals in order to achieve the big picture. So I think that's the first thing. Identify what doesn't work for you anymore and what would work for you from now on. And set the goal clearly in your head and go for it.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I think that becomes very important. Dr. Evi, if they wanted to purchase the book, I've talked about it several times. Where's the best place for them to go?
Amazon.
Just go to Amazon. It's called The Success Playbook, The 8 Habits of Happy and Successful People. And we will have also a link on show notes. So if you're exercising right now or you're doing something active, you don't have a pen and paper. If you're driving, do not write it down. come back and we will have it in show notes at chargepodcast.com. And we'll have a link where you can go straight to Amazon to be able to purchase it. So I highly suggest that. Let's jump into the recharge round. I ask every guest these same 6 questions. They're based on some of my framework that I speak about, Dr. Evi. And my first question for you is, share with us how you believe your mindset affects your daily living.
Well, I will answer, my answer will be based on science, as a matter of fact, because as Dr. Bruce Lipton, biologist, said, our cells in our body can either be in a protection mode or in a growth mode. And this means that when we are in a growth mode, we achieve things. When we are in protection mode, we are afraid, and we have cortisol in our blood, which is the stress hormone. On the other hand, when we are happy in a growth mode, we have in our blood happiness hormones like oxytocin and endorphins and dopamine and serotonin. So this brilliant biologist says that every time we see something, or we think something, we have associated an image with it. So if the image is a terror image, an image that causes fear, automatically our cells interpret this image into fear, into cortisol hormones, and we're in a protection mode. On the other hand, when we dream of something that we like, when we recall beautiful memories, we have beautiful images, and our cells tend to be in a growth mode, and we have all these beautiful happiness hormones. So ultimately, based on science, when we think of something good, we're in a growth mode and we achieve good things. On the other hand, when we are afraid, we are stuck in a bad rut. So if science says so, I don't have any reason to doubt it.
That's right. And since we're early in 2021, stay in that growth mode. Even when you have setbacks, move forward, take action. And that becomes the real key, because by visualizing it, there's a lot of people that they do visualization and there's success. They see success there. You've got to see what that end result is when it gets in the tough moments. If you've started an exercise program and you have that New Year's resolution and you're just into it and you're starting to fall off, feel the success mode of what will it look like when you achieve what you want, and be able to visualize that, and becomes part of that growth mode. What a great answer. I appreciate you sharing that. What do you do daily to bring energy in your life?
Well, it's funny because one of the first things I do every morning is to spend about 10-15 minutes with my dog, hugging my dog and playing with my dog and stroking my dog. And, the dogs give you so much affection and love. And even if you don't feel very well and very positive, or if you're a bit ill, playing with the dog, it's such a lovely activity. It gives you energy.
Wow, what a great one there, and what a great way. And they normally, of course, want to be walked and other things. So, of course, they make you get up and get moving. So that's excellent. How about the number one connection or relationship that you think's made the biggest impact on your life?
That's certainly my mother, because she's 70 years old and she's very, very active in so many things. She mentors, she works. A couple of years ago, she attended a course to fix motherboards, computer motherboards. And for a Greek woman at her 70, that's insane. And she keeps learning things, studying and reading, and even though she's retired. So she has always been a role model. She's probably the strongest woman I've ever met, because she's been through a lot, and she always is very, very positive and very happy. And she has taught me all this positive mindset.
That's why she's always in growth mode. See, she likes to learn and continue to grow.
Exactly. And she never gets ill, exactly because she's always positive. She's like, okay, I will do anything. I will protect myself. Okay. But I will never become ill. And she never becomes ill.
Yeah, excellent. What advice has influenced you the most in your life?
I think one of the biggest things I've learned is to, as I said before, to embrace failure, because it has happened to me more than once, more than twice, probably more than thrice, that I've failed, but trying again. And basically, when you fail, keep the faith that you will get up, that you are a warrior and you know you will get up. And once you get up, you can build your strategy again. And I think I had something that has played a major impact is back when I lived in Finland, there is a Finnish term, which is the word sisu. Sisu is kind of like a philosophy in Finland, and it means believe in the cause and believe in the goal until I achieve it. So never give up until you achieve your goals, until you achieve your happiness or your success. And I think that has played a major impact because when I learned about this philosophy, I was like, yeah, I think this resonates with me. I will keep on trying. And even though I know I fail at times, that's fine, because we're only humans, we all fail. And I think that's very helpful to remember that no matter how many times we fall, we always get up.
Yeah, great advice. How about, I know you're a reader of books. Make it tough on you. Share one of those books and why you love it.
One of my favorite books?
Yes.
Well, I like two types of books, actually. I either read philosophy, and Nietzsche is my favorite author, so any book by Nietzsche. And my other favorite book genre is fiction. So I know it'll sound cliche, but I love The Lord of the Rings, and I love The Witcher series. So I think these are my favorite fantasy books. There are many more. I can think of many more I love, but I think these are, because when I have spare time to read, I want to either read something philosophical and develop my way of thinking, learn more things, or I want to just travel. And that's why I like fantasy world.
Yeah. Excellent. Appreciate you sharing that. My last question for you before we kind of finish up is, define in one sentence or less, what legacy do you want to leave the world?
Oh, okay. I think that everything I try to do has the same objective, which is to help people. And that's also the reason why a few years ago, I was one of the founders of the first anti-bullying organization here in Greece. And the legacy is that if we can all help at least one person every day, the world will become such a lovely place. And it really costs absolutely nothing to be nice and kind to other people. And just a nice gesture every day can change someone's day. It's amazing how much it can help other people to be nice. I think that's the legacy I'd like to leave behind.
Well, you are leaving that legacy, because by being on and taking the time to be on the Charge podcast, there is someone that needed to hear the message today. I'm sure more than just one, but I know that one individual, it's going to make a difference of what they heard from what you shared in the Charge podcast, and realizing now they have a tool that they can go get in the Success Playbook and the 8 Habits of Happy and Successful People to be able to pick that up. So before we kind of head off, how could they reach out to you? We know LinkedIn is one way, and your website. Please share how they could connect with you, Dr. Evi.
Yes, they can connect either through LinkedIn, or they can follow me or send me a connection request, and they can email me through the contact form from my website. eviprokopi.com is my personal website. So these are the only tools. As I said, I don't use any other social media, so it got to be LinkedIn or my website.
So if you want to connect, again, we'll have all that information on chargepodcast.com to make it easy for you. Please connect with Dr. Evi. Go out and check out of her book. And Dr. Evi, it's been wonderful visiting with you on the Charge podcast. Thank you again.
It has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for all your kind feedback for my book. I'm really glad you liked it and you found it useful.
Chargers, now I give you the challenge. What are you going to do to move forward in your life? We know it's early in 2021, but sometimes people give up. Don't give up. You heard Dr. Evi say, what are the 8 habits of happy and successful people do you need to put in your life? Decide what that is today. And then just instead of taking all 8, just pick one. What action are you going to do to move yourself forward, to be able to achieve that goal that you want, to stay in that growth mindset? Oh, we've shared lots of great information. So I probably would tell you, go back and review this podcast again and really take notes on what you want to do each and every day. Chargers, I call you that for a reason, because you create habits around real goals every day. Let's go out and make it happen and achieve the success you want this year in 2021. Make it a great day and come back and join us next week.
This podcast is ended, but your life doesn't just stop. To continue your inspiring journey, head over to chargepodcast.com and access all the tools and resources mentioned on today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing with somebody who may also benefit from the advice provided. That's chargepodcast.com. Until next time, charge in business and life.